Many of us were surprised yesterday to find out that it's not unlawful for the police or any other public body to not tell the truth to a public inquiry. That's why the trial of 3 men accused of perverting the course of justice after the Hillsborough disaster collapsed. If you were watching last night's programme, you'll know that we reported about it. Well, it left the Hillsborough families and prosecutors frustrated and angry. One Liverpool MP again called for that to stop in Parliament today. And here's what the leader of the House said in reply.
It is the greatest scandal of British policing of our lifetimes. And when nobody is held to account for that, it surely indicates that something has gone wrong in our criminal justice system. And to have no accountability, not just for the terrible events that happened, but for the wickedness of the cover-up.
So does that mean that the so-called Hillsborough law might, this time, have a chance of actually becoming law? Maria Eagle, who you saw nodding in that little clip, is the MP leading calls for change.
Most people would be surprised to hear that our rules enable public authorities like police to lie and to change statements to give particular impressions that aren't true. I mean, it's clear these people are unlawfully killed. The inquests in 2016 finally established that. So my bill, the Public Advocate Bill, would use a HIP-type process of complete transparency and freedom of information from an early stage, which means that no public authority would feel they'd be able to get away with doing this kind of thing because it would all be out there, it would all be publicly available, transparently available. And if we can get those sorts of legal changes, that will be a legacy for the Hillsborough families.
And just explain the advocacy part of this, because you have an idea that there is a particular person, so you don't need a Hillsborough family support group. You don't need to have your own campaign. You shouldn't have to do that.
Well, if these things can be done correctly in the first place, you shouldn't have to campaign for justice for decades. There's nothing wrong with organisations of the bereaved families getting together to decide what they want to do. In fact, my bill would welcome that. But they should have on their side this public advocate figure to convene something like the Hillsborough Independent Panel at an early stage of the process and make sure that all the documentation that's available from public authorities is put straight out there into the public domain, so there can be no cover-up, there can be no issue of what happened with Hillsborough.
The Hillsborough, so-called Hillsborough law got stuck in parliamentary process back in 2017 with the general election and everything else. Are you optimistic that this time something might move? You've got support from someone like Jacob Rees-Mogg, so perhaps there's a cross-party consensus to actually get this done this time.
I hope so, and that's certainly what I'm seeking to promote. Both of those private members' bills are already drafted. They're available, they can be introduced at any time, because if we don't stop it happening again, it will happen again, because all of the kind of issues that led to the police thinking they could behave like they did at Hillsborough, there's nothing to stop another organisation from doing that in future if it thinks it can get away with it. There should be a legal duty for those who are working for public authorities to tell the truth to tribunals. There really ought to be.
Maria Eagle, thank you very much for your time.